Hey guys, welcome to the Think Tank. Hey James, how are you doing, friend? So, weather-wise in the Rockies, we're sitting at about 14 degrees Celsius and it is raining. They need the rain in central BC. We're fine, but oh my goodness, Kelowna, I tell you what. So, I've been looking into Bryan KOHBERGER a little bit again today, and I was a little surprised at what I found. I'll be honest with you. I I knew something else had to be out there, but as far as what, I wasn't sure. So it does look like we'll go back up here. KOHBERGER was at one point, I don't want to do this because Bryan KOHBERGER removed from law enforcement program after complaints from female students, says school administrator. So we're going to get into this pretty fast today. It's not going to be a long one, but I definitely thought this was worth getting into. Well, hello, Dandy. How you doing, friend? So this is out yesterday. A situation occurred where a complaint was made and the teacher reported it to me and said an investigation needed to be conducted. So this is Tanya Carmela Beers. And she said in an interview to a place, I don't know if it's a podcast or what, the Idaho. Yeah. So, Bryan KOHBERGER lost his spot in the vocational law enforcement program at his high school after female students lodged complaints about him. This is according to Tanya Carmela Beers, a former administrator at the vocational school who oversaw student discipline and mental health. So, there was a complaint that was made and the teacher reported it to her and an investigation was conducted. Other students were interviewed, Bryan was interviewed, and there comes a time when decisions have to be made, whether it's a decision the student wants or not. So, okay, it's a podcast. Camilla Beers said on the podcast that in the end there were complaints from multiple students, female students, but could not elaborate beyond that due to privacy laws. So after being literally forced out of the program, she said that KOHBERGER found another program to enroll in, but that did not last long. He was removed from the law enforcement program and transitioned into HVAC program. And then at the end of the 11th grade is when he decided not to return as a senior. So it says here that he did his final year of high school online. So it was also said in the podcast that the infraction which got him removed from the program aligns in some way with the crime he is suspected of committing in Idaho. Wow. So it's interesting because ultimately and I have to be careful with what I say, but ultimately, what had him removed from the program, when I look back now, she said it makes sense. He did not, or he did seem to turn his life around. And a few years after taking his senior online, so he was enrolled at Northampton Community College after completing his studies, where he went on to get an undergraduate degree at DeSales University before accepting an offer to join the doctoral program in Washington State University. So just a few months into his studies there, this is when Bryan allegedly went to 1122 King Road and is going to trial for allegedly unaliving Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana when they were allegedly sound asleep. So, I mean, there is history. A person kind of knew there had to be, but in my mind, there is going to be more. Yeah, students. Yeah, with an S. So, and I agree, probably some kind of that type of behavior. I mean, was he threatening people? I don't know. Yep. So he's always being a weirdo. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy's just an odd duck. You don't, there's a lot of odd ducks out there that don't go around behaving like a Cheerio. But this guy, I don't know. And in my personal opinion, I mean, I'd love to hear from the sisters. I'd love to know what they know about him. They know him better than anybody. They grew up with him. And for the one sister to literally go through that vehicle looking for some kind of evidence when she found out about what happened in Moscow, what would ever make a family member decide that they're going to do that? So Bryan KOHBERGER investigated as a teenager. I do believe this is just him going in, but we'll watch and check it out. I'll mute it out. So, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else we can glean. A former high school administrator revealed an investigation carried out years ago when he was a student, which ultimately doomed his enrollment in a law enforcement training program. So, isn't that really something? I mean, even Bundy, I mean, he was aiming for law school and that type of thing. He worked for a crisis helpline, for crying out loud. If I remember correctly, he possibly got some of his victims that way. So let's see here. Do you know what because I honestly believe this guy did it. This is my personal opinion. I look at these eyes and I think of a mask and I think of those kids and what a terrifying freaking few minutes that was. This guy had no right. Okay, Tanya Carmela Beers previously served as administrator. Mental health and student discipline was her expertise. So, in Eastern Pennsylvania, during his sophomore and junior years of high school, she described an incident in which, again, several females lodged complaints against him, removing him from the school's vocational law enforcement program. Hmm. So it looks like she is not able to comment on what he was doing. So was he following people? What the hell was this guy doing? It'll come out. It will come out. But what age are you then? 17-ish? That sounds about right to me. So 17, and he was a creeper. What else did he do? What else did he do? Oh, my word. Oh, Dandy, right. I'd like to know where he claims to have been driving alone that night. That is the poorest alibi I have heard in my entire life. Now, let me check my calendar over here because I do believe, yeah, he's got until September 8th to give a formal alibi. And after that, he can't change it. He's either got to nail something down or that's the way it stands. Like who oh my word. That's a really good question. Did that area have reports of a peeping Tom? That would also fit. It absolutely would. Pennsylvania peeping Tom. Peeper. You know, what do those sisters know? And I'm not trying to be gross. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. But I just think that they would pick up on something. So I've got another one. Let's just see here. High school. I believe there was talk about peepers in the area when this first happened. You know, Dandy, I think you're right. I think I heard something very, very similar. I just, I'd have to take a look back. Complaints about him. What the hell were you doing, you sicko? Trying to be careful with my potty mouth. So let's see here. After an investigation was launched, where several female students lodged complaints. So they literally did some kind of investigation into his actions. What do you have to do in order for something like that to happen? Mm. So everything that Dylan said to describe him fits. You know, there's the one footprint outside of her bedroom door. There's claims that Dylan was downstairs with Bethany. There's so many things. But law enforcement knows the answers to most of this stuff. I really want to know how this idiot got around without leaving anything in that house. Allegedly. Everything is alleged that comes out of my mouth, unless I say something that's a quote from the cops or courts. So it looks like they're basically 11th grade he was in. So it looks like they're basically giving us the same information as the other articles. But yeah, isn't that something? When I look back on it now, it all makes sense. Ugh. So online courses is how he finished his high school. Do you think they got more DNA, guys? I just have it in my brain that somehow there's got to be something. I think probably just due to the weapon that was used. Cheerio, cheerio, cheerio. Defense is saying that he had a long habit of going for long drives alone. And that's allegedly just what he was doing when Chapin, Kernodle, Mogan, and Goncalves tragically lost their lives between 3 and 4 a.m. last year. His lawyers also claim they'll be able to corroborate his whereabouts through witness testimony. Yeah, I don't think so. So I've got another one, and this one is from WSU, and I just found it really interesting. We can't watch the video because it is from Inside Edition, but check them out. Check them out. Let's grab that for you guys. Yeah. I believe there was talk about peepers in the area when this first happened. He knew the phone information would give away his location. He made alibi to try and fit it. That's the thing. They were trying to make it where, we won't give an alibi, but it's going to become clear as we go through testimony, go through the trial. Well, what is that? I mean, oh, he's doing this. No, okay, yeah, no, over there. It's like, no, you can't do that. Just deke and hide. Yeah, and that Golden Gate creep, eh? And it really does fit that profile. Yeah, his orange jumpsuits, they fit him. Orange is his color. Orange is the new black. So this one I find really interesting, you guys. So this is from Inside Edition. Check them out. And it's Bryan KOHBERGER exhibited bizarre behavior with 2 bikini-clad college co-eds at a pool party, says WSU student. So that's probably our student there. And I'm just going to stop this. So Bryan KOHBERGER asked a young woman for her number and then turned to a friend and asked the same question. Oh, he's smooth. Oh my God. So Besseth Solomon John told Air Mail, a digital media outlet, that in the summer of 2022, she met Bryan KOHBERGER at a pool party that was being held at the Grove at Moscow, an off-campus apartment complex popular with students at the University of Idaho. KOHBERGER had been invited to the party. Look at this. Had been invited to the party by his neighbor at the WSU dorms, Christian Martinez. This detail was shared by, I'm going to say Martinez or Martinez, in a number of interviews after KOHBERGER's arrest, along with the fact he invited Bryan after being approached by his father, Michael KOHBERGER, on the day his son moved into the WSU dorm. Okay, we heard this before, guys. We heard this at the very, very beginning, did we not? That his dad was trying to find friends for him. How weird is that? The guy's 27. Was 27 at the time. Will you please play with my son? Here's the pork chop put around his neck. So it says, I met his dad in the parking lot. He just stopped and started talking to me. His dad was wanting to introduce me to Bryan, and he said something. I don't remember the exact terms he used, but it was something like, he has a hard time making friends, or he's kind of shy. Well, yeah, he's a creeper. But in my personal opinion, a lot of times, not all the time, not all the time, but a lot of times, if they are strange people, they give off these vibes. It's like, oh my God. So we were just shooting the ish, but it was definitely one serious dude. Nice enough, though. So when Solomon John got up to talk to friend, Kohlberger made his way to the DJ booth, where he also made an impression. He was asking about my speakers and all kinds of technical stuff. Zach Cartwright tells Airmail. But he had this way about him. You know, those people who don't understand personal space? He was one of them. He'd get really close. It was off-putting. Yeah. Yeah, he's a little off-putting. Well, hello, Miss Mexie. Good to see you, my friend. So let's see here. Interesting. The Grove is on the other side of the highway on the southern part of Moscow, not far from the King Road home. Do you know what? I was not sure how close it was, but I knew it was close. So now that we're hearing stuff like this, it is absolutely confirming the possibility that he could have been to that house to party at some point. I mean, he was doing it. They could have met him there. All sorts of different things. Oh my God. So he said that this Cartwright said that he eventually had to dismiss Kohlberger, telling him, I'm DJing, man. I'll catch you later. So Solomon John soon joined Kohlberger by the pool. But the now suspected the leader did not stay for long, according to this new acquaintance. Solomon John watched as Kohlberger abruptly jumped up without warning, approached a girl in a black thong bikini with pink hair and a complex tattoo design on her left thigh. Then Kohlberger, after only a brief conversation, asked her for her phone number, and he got it. What? Kohlberger allegedly did not stop there. Next, moving on to the woman's friend. Next, as if a man on a mission, he turned to the pink-haired woman's friend, also in a black two-piece, and asked for her number too. And he succeeded once again. So it sounds like then Kohlberger then left the party, according to Solomon John. Oh my God. The two women later told Airmail they had never heard from Kohlberger. They both say they received several hang-up calls, though. What? It was 4 months later that the attacks happened. Just a mile down the road from the Grove. So now he's charged with the deleting of all 4 of them. If convicted, he could be sentenced to deleting. And you know what? By a firing squad, possibly. Karma's a biatch. Truly. Wow. So yeah, he was being a creeper. Absolutely. So do I, James. Yeah, summer of 2022, friend. I think he knew the house. Yep, absolutely. Because didn't he go there in June, I do believe? Oh my word. This is just basically putting him closer and closer, isn't it? Closer and closer. So the other day in court, I thought this was fair enough, I guess. So this is the Independent, also in the description. Relative of Idaho deleting victim wears, get this, T-shirts with pro firing squad message at suspect's hearing. Like, how perfect is that? No, let's just say skip. Skip.
The man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last fall is back in court. Bryan Kohlberger is charged with the brutal stabbing deaths of Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin.
Yeah, Fox's Mills Hayes is live outside the courthouse with the latest. Mills. Hey, Eric and Christine. Well, today things are going up pretty slowly. We were expected to hear about 6 different motions. We are currently waiting on the judge to rule on the very first motion.
So, with that said, it was a long day in court. The family looked absolutely exhausted when they came out. Um, but they got a lot done. This judge is not going to be messing around. He basically locked in the date of October 2nd for the trial, and he set up time for the jury. He set up time for him to have the alibi put in. This judge is not going to take his what ish.
It has been a very long day so far. And that motion that we are talking about comes from KOHBERGER's defense team. They are trying to force the state to hand over any kind of information they have relating to the DNA evidence and how they actually found KOHBERGER to be the suspect. Now, Bryan KOHBERGER came into court today wearing a suit and tie. Sometimes he has worn that orange jail jumpsuit.
So I'm going to have to look into it, because one thing I am not sure of lately is when they're tearing this house down. Because remember, they were talking about the beginning of October. So I will see what I can find out about that. And hopefully it's changed. I wouldn't even imagine, I can't imagine what that place is like on the inside. They would have to wear hazmat suits, but you never know. They might want to walk around the outside. They might even just want to go to the main floor and try and figure out what could be heard.
But the past few times he's been wearing a suit and tie in court. He's charged with the murder of 4 University of Idaho college students. They were stabbed to death in their off-campus house in the early morning hours of November 13th. It's currently boarded up and under 24-hour surveillance as kids come back to campus for the start of the new school year. Law enforcement found a knife cover or sheath at the crime scene.
So are you noticing? Are you noticing she is wearing a mask? I thought that was pretty interesting. I wonder if she's got COVID.
Police say they used investigative genetic genealogy to link DNA found on the knife sheath to KOHBERGER. The FBI uploaded the DNA to a genetic genealogy service like Ancestry.com or 23andMe to identify possible family members of the suspect. That family tree led them to KOHBERGER. KOHBERGER's team filed a motion to compel the state to hand over discovery from DNA evidence. The state argues it's not relevant since they have DNA from KOHBERGER since he's been in custody that connects him to the murder.
So what do you guys think? Should it be, oh my goodness, a thing as to how they found him on whatever database he was found? Does it really, really make a huge difference as to, I mean, he's a DNA match. Does it matter to you guys which avenue they took to find him? I'm just curious.
Too. A criminal defense attorney testified that this information would be crucial to KOHBERGER's defense team and allow them to know what experts they may need for trial. The trial is scheduled to start in October.
I don't believe in 2 months, in less than 2 months, that they're going to have a trial. I just don't see it. And furthermore, I think there's probably going to be more motions that are going to be coming, potentially regarding venue.
That defense lawyer that I spoke with tells me that it may be difficult for KOHBERGER's defense team to get a fair trial because here in Moscow, the venue, it is a very well-known case. But he also says he doesn't think that the defense can get a fair trial anywhere in the country because it has gained such notoriety across the country. Now,
Okay, well, then if that is absolutely the case, there's a way to deal with that. If everybody in the country thinks he's guilty,
right now, we're still discussing that very first motion, which means that this hearing could extend to another day, which would then, of course, push back all of these court proceedings even more. In Moscow, Idaho, Mills Hayes, Fox 5 News.
So then there's that. So let's see here. If I can just close you up. Family member of the Idaho victim Kaylee Goncalves reportedly wore a shirt with a pro-firing squad message at her suspects at the suspect's hearing. Bryan Kohlberger, 28, returned to the Latah County Courthouse on Friday for a pretrial hearing. Mr. Kohlberger, no, not Mr. Kohlberger, a former criminology PhD student at Washington State University, is accused of the November 13th deleting of the 4 University of Idaho students: Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Kernodle. So Mr. Kohlberger's attorneys wanted more DNA from the prosecutors, who said they would not produce material that had not yet been provided to them by the crime lab. Judge John Judge also denied the defense's motion alleging that prosecutors had violated Mr. Kohlberger's rights by convening a 32 people grand jury instead of 45. Oh my word. The judge ruled that there was not any substantial failures in the grand jury indictment. So the trial is to move forward to its October 2nd start date. So I am hoping, do we have Goncalves? No. So let's see here. An affidavit released in January outlines some of the evidence against the accused, including his DNA on that sheath that was left behind the scene, the surveillance footage, and cell phone activity. You know what? Not only all that stuff, but we have to think of all that information that could have been on the phones, computers, all the stuff that could have been in his residence. I know he had plenty of time to do, to get rid of a lot of evidence. But I almost think with his sister smelling bleach in his vehicle that might be a sign. So, guys, I don't know. What do you think? Are they going to be able to make a dent in this? Or is it just another delay tactic like the prosecution is saying? And what do you think about him creeping those students at the Grove? Are you kidding me? All the way back now, we've got him all the way back to grade 11, where he's been a creeper. So I don't know. In my mind, I just think the prosecution is getting more and more and more and more. I avoid masked people like the plague, irrational sheep. Yeah, right. A lot of sheeple out there, my friend. A lot of sheeple. So with that said, it's just a fast one. We wanted to do an update, and I did want to fill you guys in on what was going on in his earlier years. I'm going to keep digging. So with that said, you know how much I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next